Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Legit Level Review. It's been a very long time since I've gotten to say those words, and it feels pretty good to again. I'm excited. First off, you can tell things might be a little different here. This isn't usually how these videos get started, and apologies for the lighting. I have light coming on like one side of my face right now. This is the setup I have for now, and hopefully it works for the time being. I'm broke, and if this video makes any money, then I'll pour it into getting some better lights. How about that? I'm sure this feels right at home for a lot of you. After all, would it even be another episode of Legit Level Review if I wasn't already shitting on the upload schedule for it like 10 seconds into the video? So yeah, like I said, the series is going to be looking a little bit different going forward. My face won't constantly be here the whole time, but there are definitely some changes I want to talk about and also address why the series went away for so long to begin with. If you don't care about any of that, then you can check the timestamps down in the description or use the little bar that they've added since I last made one of these things that lets you skip through different sections of the video. Go for it if you just want to get straight to the review, and if not, then you're locked in for me rambling for a bit. Cool. So let me go ahead and address the 3-year time gap. I actually had to look up how long it's been since the last one of these I made. I didn't realize it was 3 years, Jesus Christ. And talk about how this series got stuck in limbo. Like, literally, limbo by Mindcap is the level that killed this series. I mean, it was a whole thing. I had the review planned literally for the entire time the series has been dead. I went through 3 different pretty high profile guests who all ended up dropping the review, but to be honest, it completely killed my motivation for the series for quite a while. I'm sure if you know my track record as a mega collab creator, then one could very easily say that this is just karma for the like fucking laundry list of collab parts that I've dropped over the years. But either way, Limbo is clearly a cursed level for this series, so I think I wisely decided just, hey, it's not happening right now. Maybe it'll happen one day, but until then, we're going with Cool Alien Level by Viot. This whole Limbo incident also coalesced with me taking a step back from Geometry Dash as a whole, along with the community, which I think my current upload schedule says even disregarding this series. I also felt that the formula I've been using for this series for the first 13 episodes had honestly just gotten pretty stale and was getting pretty boring for me to edit through and do any part of the creative process on at all. So yeah, that's why you're seeing my beautiful face right now. I decided if I was going to bring this series back, then there definitely had to be some creative changes implemented, and this is one of them that I think will be a lot of fun. I think the level I'm reviewing today also reflects the changes I'm going for, which, as I already mentioned and as you saw in the title, is Cool Alien Level by Viot. Notably, it is the first non-demon that I've reviewed in this entire series, and I think I addressed this in one of the previous episodes. I've never had a rule against non-demons or anything like that, but demons are obviously the thing that this community hypes up the most. They tend to be the levels that I have the most to say about, but I'm going to try to branch out from that quite a bit. The last major thing I want to bring up before we actually start reviewing the level is that I'm going to be changing the way that I rate levels in this series moving forward. I used to do the typical X out of 10 for both gameplay and decoration, then I would combine the scores together for an average, and that would be the final score of the level. That worked fine in the past, but I don't think it reflects what I want for this series going forward. So what exactly am I replacing the scoring system with? Well, to be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure yet. Obviously, I have something planned for the end of this video, but I'm not sure if it's going to stick or not. Like I said, I'm kind of throwing different things at the wall and seeing what I find to be most enjoyable and also what you guys like as well. This won't impact me giving my genuine thoughts on a level, of course. If I think something's shit, then you know me, I'm going to be honest and just say it's shit. And if I want to glaze something until it smells like pennies, then I'm going to fucking glaze it. Everything I've mentioned in this little intro rant is subject to change. You could think of episodes 1 through 13 of Legit Level Review as season 1 of the show, and now we're in the premiere of the 2nd season that kind of serves as a soft reboot. I don't know, we're feeling it out. I'll be reading all the comments you guys leave on this new format, and please, if there's anything you really like about this new format or want changed, then definitely let me know. Hell, even if you hate all the changes I'm making, please drop a comment about it. That shit does numbers for the algorithm boost. Anyways, enough yapping. Here's the review you've all been waiting for going on 4 years now, Cool Alien Level by Viot. Cool alien level is quirky as hell, man. Honestly, I think I just summed up this whole review, gameplay, decoration. I could just end the video here. That sentence describes it perfectly. Whether or not that's for you really depends on whether you like what the level's trying to do, because whatever it is certainly not what the average Geometry Dash featured page level goes for. But if you're me, YakobNugget, then well, you fucking love it. This level's gameplay is extremely unconventional. Just by watching it once or playing it yourself, you can tell that the entire level uses the robot game mode with absolutely no changes, which already makes it stand out quite a bit. Full-length levels that only go for one game mode are already pretty rare, and most of those only use the cube, so this might just be the only one I've ever touched that uses robot for its entire duration. On top of that, robot might just be the single most hated game mode outside of the newly-ish added swing copter, so shout out to Viot for the massive balls he had to go for that. The first section in the level is definitely the worst for me and might throw you off for the rest of the level if you're already a seasoned robot hater. You have some more conventional robot jumps and orb clicks that would come out of any standard robot part, a slope section that has you jump over a couple of these weird spiked bushes, and most interestingly, these thin blocks here that require you to land on them with much more precision than the regular thick boys. They're only used for a couple of inputs here, but they're great foreshadowing for the better parts of the level. Things really pick up around 15%, with the small blocks that I mentioned in the last section being used in abundance here. Some of them even fall out from under you when you step on them, which is a criminally underused feature in this game. Getting used to the amount of time I could land on these blocks before they'd fall out from underneath me took a few deaths in practice to really get used to, but once I started playing this level from zero, it was extremely consistent and I had absolutely no issues with it. Being forced to react and time my jumps in a way I normally wouldn't with a level of this difficulty, let alone plenty of extremes, was super satisfying. This kind of nut-worthy gameplay isn't just limited towards the start of the level either, as around 70% we get some slope shenanigans that give a similarly fantastic challenge. It's really impressive that despite this feeling like a bit of a learning curve in practice, these parts never feel like they go above their intended 8-star difficulty once you put everything together. Viot has a history of incorporating weird gimmicks into his layouts, but unlike other people who attempt to get a little quirky with their gameplay from time to time, Viots often feel very intuitive and balanced. GD minigame creators could high-key learn a lot from this man. Speaking of another gimmick that works well, the breakable block section near the end is the perfect wrench to throw at the player, while actually only having the blocks themselves get broken in the process. Like the smaller blocks I talked about, they force you to change the timing and rhythm of your inputs ever so slightly and actually focus more on where you're landing than just the initial input itself. Dick riding over such tiny features might seem like a little much for some of you, but A, learn to have some fucking whimsy in your life, you goddamn Grinch. And B, when so few levels create gameplay like this in the first place, it's just really damn refreshing to see. The orb spam section in the middle of this level is just fine. I'm of the opinion that if you're going to include gameplay like this, then you may as well just use the UFO to begin with. Of course, I'm aware that that defeats the whole point of the robot-only level, but it still doesn't change the fact that the UFO just plays better than this. I will give this part points for having some red orbs mixed into it, especially as your robot gets closer and closer to the ceiling, making it so that you actually have to stay more so in the middle of the part to not get launched into the fucking stratosphere. This adds a really creative obstacle that wouldn't have worked very well if the part had just been a UFO to begin with, although now I'm just thinking about how cool it would have been to have a UFO section where the gravity of your clicks gets higher or lower depending on how far away you are from the center of the screen, and why a level called Cool Alien Level uses a robot instead of the fucking UFO to begin with. I'm fully expecting a sequel to this called Cool NASA Level that uses the fucking ball the whole time or something. I saved the most fun part of the level for last, that being the part around 50% where you jump between a bunch of different block towers. Honestly, I wish the orb section I just talked about had been replaced with an extension of this part, since it absolutely mogs on it. It forces some extremely creative jumps through its structuring, which I know is difficult to do. You definitely need some vigorous playtesting to make sure that this actually fits in with everything around it. The staircase section, I guess I'll call it that, highlights exactly what I'm talking about. Adding in a few red pads that you need to avoid humanoid complements everything else I just talked about beautifully. This part feels like it was crafted with insane precision, and I'm all here for it. This is genuinely some of the most fun I've had with any part in this entire game, even as an 8-star. It's also a shining example of why you fuckers who hate watch on the robot because this part in Deadlocked bent you over in middle school really need to get your heads out of your asses and give technology a chance. If it's not already obvious, I think the gameplay for this level, barring the first 15% or so, is absolute peak. Off of that alone, this level already deserves way more attention it has. I mean, just look at the search results for this thing on YouTube. It has like 5 whole uploads. Someone get Nexus on this shit. Viot already has double-digit creator points, so that actually might be enough for him to get credited for his work in the Big 25. Getting the bottom of the barrel out of the way, the intro for this level feels like it struggled to know where it wanted to go just as much as it did for gameplay. It introduces some concepts we'll see better used later on in the level as well, like multi-layered custom backgrounds, block pillars, and large bush overgrowths. I've always said there's nothing wrong with keeping things natural like our Lord above intended, but at least keep it clean down there, folks. My main dislike of this part actually comes from the colors. I think the super bold red background clashing against the sickly pale blue outlines is really ugly. Same with the T3 dust effect happening throughout the entirety of the part. It doesn't mesh with anything going on around it. Even worse, you can see the edge of the effect whenever you start a new attempt, at least on PC. It's probably even worse if you're playing it on mobile. Little details that are out of place like that really fuck with immersing you into an atmosphere, which is kinda crucial for a level that's this simplistic to begin with. I have a similar nitpick for the player not emerging out of the crashed UFO at the very start of the level, and instead just waltzing right past it like it's another Friday evening rush hour accident. I think it's pretty cool to imply that the player crash landed on this planet and that this level is our journey to escape it, but the laziness to not actually have the player crawl out from the wreckage makes me question if that's even what's supposed to be conveyed in the first place. Even with the simplicity that this level is operating under, it doesn't excuse poor execution. On the complete other end of the spectrum, I absolutely adore the block tower section around 50%. At first glance, the colors already work so much better than those in the previously talked about section. The subtle gradient in the background blends so well with the blues and purples of the towers in the foreground, and there's an actual noticeable difference in color as background objects get farther and farther away from the player. In fact, every other part in this level does this background distinction far better than the first, furthering my belief that the first section in this level was just Viot throwing together whatever random ass ideas he had at the time. I love the variance in how each block tower was constructed as well. It truly does feel alien when it's so rare to see expressive architecture like this in the modern world. I know this style is too simplistic for some, but god, I just think it works incredibly well here. It certainly kept my attention in a way that a similarly executed part from a different creator could have fallen flat on its ass. The only other part I'm not huge on for this level is the orb section, although that's largely due to decoration options being limited when 2/3 of the fucking screen are taken up by these giant ass orbs. I also don't think they're done any favors by these giant bubbles that have a comically bright and rough outline whenever they pulse to the music. They feel random. I really don't know what they're supposed to portray. I called them a bubble because that's the closest thing my brain can think of. I mean, maybe that's the point for this level being set on an alien planet, but if it doesn't look good, it just doesn't look good. There's really no way around that. What I am a huge fan of, however, are these chainsaw blades that sway in the wind, as well as these haphazardly constructed platforms scattered throughout the part. They're both such great details, and I wish they'd had more emphasis drawn to them, color-wise in the case of the saw blades, and just sheer numbers in the case of the platforms. Let's jump back towards the beginning of the level and talk about the part that looks like an homage to a Sharifo level. Old heads in the crowd get that reference. That creator is immediately what the columns of snake-like bushes reminded me of. The ones in the background look especially intimidating, or maybe that's just my centipede phobia being triggered. Either way, they look absolutely amazing when paired with the mountains in the background, and add to the treacherous vibe of the part that the falling blocks were already already giving off. This part also has the most movement in the entire level due to its gameplay gimmicks, but they're subtle enough to not really mess with the more natural and stagnant feel that the rest of the level goes for. This leads perfectly into what I'm going to call the glass block section, and oh my god, the blocks that fade and re-enter as you pass by them look so fucking good here. Even if you were one of those dedicated Twitter haters for this level, I really don't think you can deny how good this looks. I mean, they look like an amalgamation of these hunks of glass and metal welded together into these imposing towers that, I don't know, could be used for travel for whatever alien race lives here. They're my favorite single element of the entire level, although I think the part as a whole is let down by these big-ass American handball goalpost looking things. Had to appease to the European viewers there. Really though, this is another instance where I don't actually know what the fuck these things are. And although I think they're a bit too bulky and prominent for this part as a whole, they still work a lot better for me than the bubbles I talked about in that part earlier. Alien World is doing alien things. Good shit, Viot. Another very visually pleasing part is this Jack and the Beanstalk ass simulator. You really do feel like a giant as you leap your way from plant to plant as you get higher and higher into the sky. It's really cool. I guess now is as good a time as any to mention that this level starts from the very bottom of the editor and gradually works its way up higher and higher as you progress, mimicking your escape from the planet. This is far from the first level to use this ascension gimmick, considering that there was an entire contest based around it. Hell, the inverse of this can actually be found with Planet X. But it's executed very well here and adds even more charm to what was already a very charming level. I think this part makes the escalation the most noticeable it's been throughout the entire level at this point, and what a damn clean part to represent it, especially with the beanstalks themselves. Viot picked the absolute perfect texture for these things, making them look like they're wrapping around themselves in so few objects. The colors are also at their best here. This collection of plants would definitely pass a Harvard diversity test with all the different variants we're seeing here. This is in very strong competition to be my favorite part in the level. I think it could even beat out the tower section if it had maybe one more minor detail that was consistently scattered throughout the part. Going into the final chunk of the level, the escalation gimmick is on full display here. We've passed through the clouds and are now quickly approaching the with all kinds of space debris hovering around us. There's even a cool little visit from an actual alien. See, if we had actually emerged from the crashed UFO at the start of the level, then I would hypothesize that this could potentially be a friend here to pick us up from this desolate planet. Unfortunately, this is left up to interpretation due to the nitpicks that I had earlier. And going off of what we were shown, we could just be a local trying to escape this barren hellscape after seeing other signs of life. Or hell, maybe our stupid ass was shining laser pointers up in the sky again, causing this poor soul to crash on his way to work, probably leaving behind a grieving family who relied on him and will now starve to death due to your blatant disregard for life. And for all we know, the person operating this vessel is his best friend of the last 8 million years or something, and he saw what you did to his mate and is pissed. Their blood is on your hands, Viot. As the player makes their leap of faith into the void, they're sucked up sloppy style by the UFO. Assuming we killed this dude's friend at the start of the level, we're not getting any due process here and are being sent straight to the alien equivalent of El Salvador. Would that just be El Salvador? Moving on. The player is not aligned when getting sucked up by the UFO's tractor beam, and like the dust particles I mentioned at the start of the level, it's another detail that reminded me that I'm playing a Geometry Dash level, and not in the endearing way. What's more annoying is that again, this just feels like laziness on the part of Viot. I can't think of any reason that you wouldn't catch or fix this. But hey, at least the end screen afterwards is cute. I really like it. Overall, I really like the decoration for this level. While there were a couple parts I wasn't huge on, the good far outweighs the bad, and the overall journey you take on the level makes me forgive the shittier parts more than I would with your average affair. I don't know if Viot still creates in the game or not, but if he does, I am so excited to see what he comes up with next. So now, the big event. Rating the level. I think for this video, I'm gonna break apart the 3 words in this level's title: cool, alien, and level. Let's start with the easiest. Level. Cool Alien Level is indeed a level uploaded on the Geometry Dash servers. 10 out of 10. Alien is a little more debatable for reasons I went to earlier. Again, the lore implications of that crashed UFO at the start, it's just really throwing a wrench in things. If we assume that our character and the little man in the UFO at the end are from different planets, then that makes at least one of us an alien. We can't truly know though. It's a coin toss, meaning I'm gonna have to settle on 5 aliens out of 10 here. Lastly, is this level cool? At first I was worried considering the starting sections looked quite arid and sandy, but thankfully we progress into the clouds and eventually into outer space itself, which is an astounding negative 455 degrees Fahrenheit. And no, I am not catering to you European fucks twice in the same video. As such, I'll give Cool Alien Level a negative 455 out of 10 on the cool factor. Take the average of these numbers and you get a final score of negative 146.66 out of 10. It probably would have been at least an 8 if the player had just exited that damn UFO at the start of the level, but I guess we can't have nice things here. Anyways, that wraps things up. Thank you all so much for tuning into the return of this series. I have absolutely no idea what the future is going to look like, so no promises on consistent uploads or even another episode in general, but hey, it doesn't hurt to hope for the best. That's all for today, guys. Thanks for watching. See ya.